Okay, so let's start. Good evening to all, and thanks for being with us tonight. My name is Andrea Landini, and it's my privilege and pleasure to welcome you here on behalf of Gellify. Gellify is a B2B innovation platform which enables established companies and emerging high-technological B2B startups to innovate together about processes, products, and business models through our consulting and investment activity. We achieve our mission by disseminating entrepreneurial culture and generating new ecosystem connection. So we have built a business community that we call Explore. It's a digital space where you can discover and interact with contents, solutions, and partners. I'd like to start by thanking our community partners, especially Switzerland Global Enterprise and Microsoft. Together with them, we have created the content that will accompany us during this event. And tonight's event is dedicated to artificial intelligence and how to help the artificial intelligence startups to scale and grow up internationally. I started my professional career in Switzerland with a master's degree from the University of Lugano. My second half is Swiss, so every time I deal with Switzerland, something positive happens, and it's a bit like a second home for me. For all these reasons, I was doubly happy to organize this initiative with Swiss Business Hub Italy, and I wish the entrepreneurs here to have the same luck with Switzerland as a land of opportunity. To tell us which opportunities and how to take an advantage of them will be our first speaker tonight, the head of Swiss Business Hub Italy, Stefan Zwicky. Please welcome on stage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Also a very warm welcome from my side. Many thanks for being here tonight, and my thanks go also to Andrea. We really enjoyed the collaboration, and I think you have an excellent concept with your Explorer. This makes sense because everything has to do with exploring new fields, with inspiration by the end of the day. I think inspiration is one of the things, or one of the few things, which by the end of the day you're not able to buy. So my duty tonight will be to give you some inspiration about Switzerland. I'm the head of Swiss Business Hub here in Italy. We are located within the Consulate General of Switzerland, and we are collaborating with Switzerland Global Enterprise, which is the agency mandated for investment promotion and for the export promotion activities. My wish tonight is simply to get you involved with Switzerland. There are so many opportunities. There are opportunities in terms of commercial collaborations, opportunities to do R&D collaborations, and also, of course, to establish company, to set up a company in Switzerland. Why not? We do see ourselves as an expansion factor which might help your business model to grow. We are actually number one in innovation when it comes to the Global Innovation Index, and that's not my personal ranking or my internal ranking. This was the World Intellectual Property Office who attributed for the 8th time now in a row this award to us. And I think this is a decent starting point because innovation is really also a value in our business, especially when it comes to growth. We do have arguments. I don't like to speak so much, even if the landscapes are very nice. But I think in terms of entrepreneurial context, we really have to stick to arguments and concrete arguments. What we often see in internationalization projects is a first step, which is the Swiss internal market. A very interesting market because we have a sophisticated consumer, a huge buying power, even if the volumes might be bit smaller, but a consumer which is able to give you also feedback about launching a product. And it might be very interesting also in terms of your margin, because, there is some buying power over there. Apart this, I often hear innovation, that startups, that small and medium enterprises, they are not able to do internal innovation. And I understand, because by the end of the day, that's really a cost factor, a resource factor. And here Switzerland offers collaborations. We do offer collaborations on the private sector, which is, for instance, with innovation parks, but on the other hand, also with public institutes, like the ETH, like the EPFL. So externalizing the innovation, leave some space for you to think about other things. And an important issue here is that all intellectual property and all patents, they remain with you. They don't go away just simply because you are collaborating with someone. An interesting factor is Switzerland actually spends some 3.4% of the GDP in R&D activities. This is quite a bit more than the EU average. But the interesting thing is that 2/3 of it, they're coming from the private sector. So it's not the state, it's not the public hand giving these funds. There's just 1/3 of it contributing. Switzerland then is also an ideal place to safeguard your patents and your intellectual property, because if you are talking about these intangible assets, sooner or later, we're also talking about international taxation. So a really interesting context for this business, innovative business where we are in, where 95% is intangible and not physical assets. I'd like to have a closer look also, already we talked about the taxation. It's not about the company taxation, because I don't think that this would be very sustainable or very innovative taxation optimization. It's about the individual persons, the physical persons. I mean, you need employees, you need highly skilled employees, talented employees, and this human resource pool, you don't find it everywhere in the world. Because also these talents, it's a free market, they can stay wherever they want, and of course they decide to live in a context which is also highly interesting for themselves. We have here a comparison when it comes to the tax burden for physical persons, where you see at the lower end the sustainability of the taxes, and going from left to right, if it is an attractive taxation or rather not. And you see that most of the cantons and also Switzerland as an average is located in the quarter to the left-hand side below. So this might be a good starting point also to retain people, because they like the place, because they like to stay over there, and they have also some huge benefits of that. Another argument which could be impacting your business is as well the commercial agreements nowadays. We have seen a lot of cases where Switzerland is a bridge towards more internationalization, globalization. Therefore, it's quite important that there are agreements which make sure that your investments are really safeguarded in these markets, and which make sure also that you can export your products over there. And having some duties less, so customs less, might be a really competitive advantage by the end of the day. A competitive advantage also towards your, let's say, European competitors. There are quite some interesting agreements in there, just to mention like China. This has been introduced some 4 years ago. We recently added Indonesia. So there are emerging markets in there which are really highly interesting to compete at attractive prices over there. We're talking tonight about artificial intelligence, and Switzerland probably was not one of the first nations who did artificial intelligence, who positioned itself in a top position, but I think Switzerland really catched up in the meantime, and if you're looking just at the numbers, you see that actually this is the highest density of artificial intelligence companies per citizen. Also when it comes to funding, and here it becomes interesting, for funding you need obviously an interesting context. And that's the reason why also we will find the 10 most funded AI companies in Switzerland. So the context really allowed to get to these international investors. Good examples of this are, for example, the Sophia Genetics. Sophia Genetics was born in 2011 in APFL in Lausanne. They reached 140 million of fundings. Nowadays, with their data-driven medicine, they surpassed also IBM. And I think the context really had a huge impact on their business model. Also, the second one, this StarMind with just 25 millions, they started in 2010 with ETH Zurich. They nowadays have some 100 employees, and it's another proof that the context, apart the technology you have, really might impact. If you're looking at the landscape, again, we have this common comprehension between public hand and the private sector. There, of course, obviously are the private ones, like the IDIAP Research Institutes, which we're going to also have tonight, the so-called Dalla Molle Institutes. We have the public ones, the universities, at the top ranking, of course, ETH and EPFL. And these are in all language regions, so really across the country. We talked about investments, finding investors, so I think we also have to look at how safe is that, having investments. And of course, there are always like the internal factors. One cannot be sure whether my technology is really valid, whether, yeah, I have some internal risks then because my business model doesn't work, but these are risks you're going to encounter everywhere on the world. We just have to make sure that we don't add external factors then, because if you have some external risks, then both risks, they're going to accumulating, and by the end of the day, it's really getting difficult to manage them. So at least being in a context like Switzerland, where you can access to capital, where you have a stability, predictable governance, and you have also an investor-friendly climate, I think this is really the starting point where you have to grow your business. Symbolic is, and I like it very much, is our coin of the 20 cents with this charming lady, Helvetia. This is the coin, also how it looks like in 2019. So imagine how it looked in 1882. In 1882, it looked exactly the same. So I think this is really rather symbolic for what it means being predictable, stability. So you really can stick to your business, you can concentrate on your business, and you really don't have to matter on the context. Also, nice side effects of the financial stability, currency exchange. It's about your wealth, it's about your company substance, where during the last 10 years, the Swiss franc really made sure that your investments are not melting away. All these arguments, I think they lead us to some kind of global location strategy. This is a word which probably some years ago was only used by experts or by multinational companies, and nowadays is quite relevant also for medium-sized enterprises and also, for startup companies. They really have to consider how to structure their business and what might be the context where they can really start it. So we are here tonight. I think this is the first phase where we are trying to inspire your business plan whenever Switzerland might come in your considerations. I think that would be a very good initial point, and then if you have time, we even can draft together a business plan, we can draft a growth scenario, we can check then opportunities, and there we have 26 cantons. They are all competitors among them, and that's quite important because we can speak to each one of them and they may evaluate in a collaboration with you depending on the proposal. So this is, I think, a unique model. It's quite a bit complex, but it's a process which is really worth going through. We can then, once you find a solution, once you find a collaboration, then going deeper, having individual talks with this territory, with the canton, and then, hopefully making sure that there is going to be a collaboration in the future or even branch creation, expansion, or setup of your company. So we are here for that. We are going to remaining also for the aperitif part. It's going to be personally, then Annalisa Zigliani. We also have the privilege tonight. We have 4 cantons here and representatives. We have Stefan Bühler of Canton Uri, which is very, very close to Italy nowadays. We have Canton Ticino, which is even closer with Carlo Bernasconi. We have Lorenzo Bessone from the greater Geneva-Bern area. And then, of course, also among our speakers, Sergio Palestra from Canton Valais, who's going to give you some further insight in his canton. So I hope that we have the possibility to speak, to chat some later, and many thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Stefan. So,
There's room for some questions also.
yeah, does anyone have any questions for our guest? Yes? Here? Wait, because we need the microphone for the...
Daniele Mirandi, CEO of eHopper. Can you give us 2 good reasons not to move our business to Switzerland?
Well, actually, that's not my duty, but of course you have to consider all the risk. I mean, you have to find the location which is adapted to your business plans, and then you also have to understand which are your needs, because I often see that the company does not know which are the basic needs. So do you have a business plan which is based on, I don't know, finding the right talents, for instance? So you really have to consider the hotspots where you find these talents. And these probably might not be in a context where, the taxation is high or where the administration is not so efficient. But it's quite important to find it. And often I see their growth plans without having a clear view. And this is also important to express these needs towards the canton, because so the canton can recognize whether he is the right partner or not. So the more concrete you are and the more dislikes you also manage to find, the better you can also identify which might be the best location for you.
Thank you. Any other question? No? Okay. Thanks again, Stefan.
Thank you.
I need this. Thank you. Before moving on to our next speaker, I invite all of you to share contents through Facebook and Twitter using our official hashtag to receive premium contents from our community. So now, our next speaker is a scientist at the research lab of Microsoft in Zurich, opened last year, and focus on machine vision and mixed reality. Please, welcome to stage Silvano Galliani.
Thanks a lot. So, thanks a lot, Andrea.
You're welcome.
As said, I'm a researcher at mixed reality and AI lab in Zurich. And here I'm going to introduce the collaboration and synergy between Microsoft and ETH Zurich, and, well, a brief introduction of our lab. So how did this collaboration started? This happened when Professor Mark Polifay is a professor in computer vision at the Technical University ETH in Zurich, that spent his 2-year sabbatical in Microsoft at the main offices in Redmond in the state. And after coming back, he decided to open the lab in Zurich, officially opened 1st of July 2018. And but decided also to keep his chair in computer vision at ETH. That's why he's 50% ETH and 50% Microsoft. But then, well, as you can see here, nice picture of Nadia Satella, CEO of Microsoft. The official deal was made public just in November last year. We want to see this collaboration, as said before, as a synergy. More at the Swiss scale, we established the Swiss Joint Research Center, a collaborative research agreement between EPFL, Technical University in Lausanne, and ETH, Technical University in Zurich, where we actually funded multiple research projects in which we are actively involved. Then, more at the local scale, in Zurich, we are supervising ETH students, both at PhD and master level. And also we take advantage of a great pool of talent, motivated students that are coming to ETH, one of the top technical university in Europe, and to acquire them. But, well, I would like to note that this is also a flow that is going in both directions, also because, as happened before, Microsoft researchers are free also to move to academia. There are multiple professors who were previously working at Microsoft Research and then moved back to academia. The research we're conducting is fundamental research that is tailored not just for benefit of Microsoft, but it's meant to be fundamental research that foster new technology in which local startup can benefit. The main focus of research of our lab is what we have advertised as spatial intelligence for mixed reality, where mixed reality is a broad spectrum of devices between physical and digital world, where the user is free to interact between digital and real world while being physically present in the space. The range of devices include virtual reality, where the user is completely involved in the digital world, and more augmented reality devices such that HoloLens or also iPhone or Android phones. Even if we are involved in fundamental research, our research is tailored for actual customer needs. I'm listing here sample use cases for mixed reality. For example, remote assistance or training and task guidance. All use case scenario where the user needs to be hand-free and needs to see digital content overlaid in the physical world and potentially needs to be guided remotely by someone else. Of course, collaborative visualization, looking together at the same digital object while being physically not present in the same space, or contextual data access. Even if Microsoft is not well known to be only a hardware company, we rely on two sensing devices that are capturing the environment, first being HoloLens 2, the new augmented reality headset being announced last Friday, February, sorry for that. It's a very comfortable and immersive mixed reality headset that include the largest ecosystem of first and third-party mixed reality solutions. Then we're also making use of Azure Kinect. It is a depth sensing device that includes a time-of-flight camera that measures 3D position in space, an RGB camera, just a video camera, and a Microsoft array, 7 Microsoft that sense the space as a 360-degree degree of freedom of sensing the environment, can localize people and can take advantage of Azure cognitive service to, for example, have a real-time transcription of speech or translation, or exploiting computer vision capability of cognitive services. I'm listing 2 examples of the actual research we're doing in Zurich. The first address a first-line worker scenario for training and task guidance, where it's very important for the HoloLens to understand what the user is doing while with hands-free, while using a specific tool. That's why this is a video of resulting research that is being presented at CVPR next Computer Vision Conference next month, where we were able to obtain the 3D hand pose estimation and 60-degree parameter of the object just from a single image. In this case, the main challenge was to gather enough training data to train the deep learning network end-to-end and recognize what the user or the action was actually being made. Second example I'm going to show is privacy-preserving image-based localization. Let me just show. So image-based localization is a very important technique in mixed reality in general, where we're given a set of 3D points, say of this space, and an image. We establish, I'm not sure if you can see the pointer, but we establish correspondence between the 2D image and the 3D space, and thanks to that, you're able to solve this relation and be able to locate the image in the 3D world. Unfortunately, to be able to do that, 3D points needs to be uploaded on the cloud, but this 3D point can be inverted and transformed in the original image. This is a huge privacy problem. That's why we converted this 3D point and we obfuscated the content by transforming the point cloud in set of line, passing a random line through every 3D point, thus obfuscating the content, but while retaining the capability of localizing the image inside the world. Let me just give you an example. This is a riddle that shows how we were able to obfuscate the 3D content by using line instead of points, let's say. Okay, this was a Colosseum. Of course, impossible to guess just from a random line, but this is enough for image-based localization algorithm to localize the image in space. Let me conclude by giving a bit of context of the other type of where our solution fit inside the whole ecosystem and stack of solution that Microsoft is providing for mixed reality. I'm running out of time, but I want to list Azure Spatial Anchors is a service that allows to seamlessly and simultaneously share spatial information across multiple users. Azure Remote Rendering, where it's a service that render in real time 3D content on the cloud and stream it to devices which do not have the compute capability to render at high level of detail. Also, Digital Twin is a platform that models the physical world and the relationship between people, places, and device. Higher up, the whole Microsoft Reality stack is the following, where at the bottom you see the different intelligent edge device, iPhone, Android, and perception device as Kinect, and so on. On top, the three mixed reality services I listed, but also the Azure Cognitive Services, AI services for computer vision, speech recognition, translation, being searched to search on different databases, and on top, Microsoft Dynamics or third-party solution that enable to quickly and build and prototype new mixed reality solution. And with this, I would like to thank you all, and thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Silvano. Stay. So, does anyone have any questions for our guest? No? I have a question. So, why the mixed reality products by Microsoft could be relevant for an AI startup or other startup in other fields?
Mainly because they provide a common stack of SDK infrastructure that are needed to quickly prototype and reach a certain level of quality that are anyway needed to be built, but we provide a starting point and to be able to quickly ramp up. And
to build services over
exactly.
there. Yeah.
The three main mixed reality for Azure service that I presented are the result of customer needs and requests. So we're quite sure that these are the common building blocks that are needed to quickly build a mixed reality solution.
Thanks again, Silvano.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So now let's move on to our next speaker. He will reveal us the project he's working on and how he's applying artificial intelligence to real business cases. He comes from Martigny, and I'm very glad to introduce our next speaker, Joël Dumoulin, from Technology Transfer Officer of EDAP Research Institute. Please welcome to stage.
Thank you. Hello, all of you. So I'm Joël Dumoulin. I come from Wallis, Switzerland. Just so you get an idea of where I come from and where EDAP is coming from. So we are located in Wallis, here in Martigny, the blue dots. Milano is here, so it's quite close. 2 hours from EDAP to Geneva Airport, 2 hours and a half to Milano Centrale, and 3 hours to the airport of Zurich. So it's quite a nice place, not only because it's close to airports, but also because there is, I'm sorry, it's a bit cliché, but there is a nice landscape. This picture is resuming very well the valley, because you get the mountains, you can go skiing in winter, hiking in summer, and the whole year you get nice sun and nice wine. So EDAP was created in 1991 by Angelo Dalle Mole. Perhaps you know about him. Angelo Dalle Mole is Italian, at least he was Italian. And when he created the EDAP, it was the 3rd research institute that was created in Switzerland. At that time, it means Istituto Dalle Mole di Intelligenza Artificiale Percettiva. So you can see that already in 1991, artificial intelligence was at the core of this kind of research institute. So I will not go into details. It will be the same for all the slides. So don't hesitate to come back to me at the end of the event if you have any questions. What is interesting that I want to say is that we have a joint development plan with EPFL. It allows us to have PhD students which are registered and they are getting the certificate, the diploma at EPFL, but they are working at EDAP under the guidance of our researchers. And also quite interesting for startups and SMEs is that we launched in 2019, so this year, a new Master of Science in Artificial Intelligence, which is applied. So the idea is that the students are not only students, they are employees working in real companies, working with real data, and solving real problems, which is quite new and quite exciting. So it's also quite interesting for startups. In figures, very quickly, we are a bit more than 100 people. We were 95 a year ago, so we have a lot of projects, more than 40 running projects per year. And we are a research institute, so we do a lot of publication, of scientific publication, which is quite around 120 by year. And we're still hiring. We have quite a worldwide recognition, almost more worldwide than national recognition, I will say. We worked with the US government, some GAFAs, and one of the things that made EDAP quite famous all around the world is because we created in 2001, at least a few researchers from EDAP in 2001, they created Torch, and Torch became in 2014 PyTorch. So it was acquired by Facebook. They recreated it using a Python, and now PyTorch is one of the 2 most used toolkits to do machine learning and deep learning. So the other one being TensorFlow by Google, and the second one, PyTorch. We have 3 main missions. The first one, of course, is research. The second one is training. We are four of our permanent researchers are professors. We are involved in 10 EPFL courses, and we are also very active in innovation and technology transfer. And I will try to show you what kind of ecosystem we are trying to help in not only in Martigny with IDIAP, but also in the whole canton of Valais. This goes through different things, like we have funding institutions which support us to create and run research projects. We are active in challenges, active with the industry, with small and big companies, and very active also to help startups and also create spin-offs when we can. So to help us, there is DARC and especially IDARC, which is located in Martigny. So IDARC is one of the 6 DARC sites, and it offers personalized services for startups and spin-offs. There is the incubation, the accelerator, and the innovation. So they are helping us around this. Already 13 startups and 8 spin-offs have gone through this process with IDARC. And we are extending the space. Currently it's 300 square meter space, but we are expanding it because there is a lot of need for new startups. As I said, we are active also in challenges. One of them is the International Create Challenge, ICC. The idea is from ID to startup. So the 8th edition will stand at the end of the year. How it works, very quickly, 3 weeks immersive program, 8 teams are selected, and we try to offer networking, office space, experts, lectures, and more. And 3 of the past edition winners are successful startups like Eyewear, Recap, and BioWatch. So I encourage you, if you have ideas and you want to involve it, turn them into startups, go there. At IDIAP, we have 11 research groups. I will not go into details, but of course speech and audio processing, which was the historical group of IDIAP, machine learning, robotics, biometrics, natural language understanding, energy informatics. One key group is the machine learning group, because machine learning is present in all of these research groups. A few examples here of how we can benefit of the expertise of our research group to help startups, for instance. So there is this company, Keylemon. It is an IDIAP spin-off. They're active in biometric authentication. One of their goals was to use a model called, an algorithm called cascaded regression trees to do facial landmarks. The model was about 100 megabytes. So it was too big to be fitted correctly on smartphone. So they needed to reduce it. Thanks to a research project with the machine learning group, we were able to compress the vectors in the leaves of the trees and reduced the model up to 8 megabytes. And this without loss of quality. You can see here a running example, running live on a smartphone. A second example is a company called Digitarena, which is a startup going through the ZARC process. And they're active in live sport TV graphics. And as said the CEO of Digitarena, going through this process and staying close to the researchers helped him to create research projects and advance and improve his company. So one of the examples of the solutions that we developed together is this. So you see a football match. Can you spot the difference? Of course, the banner. So it allows to, on the fly, modify the advertising. So it works for football, but there is also other markets in sport, like for instance, basketball matches. Another example is it's not a startup, it's a SME, which they also need a lot of artificial intelligence. This company is called ASA Automation Industrial. It's a world-leading supplier of equipment offering innovative laminated and seamless plastic tube packaging production solutions Their goal was to align caps, for instance, caps of toothpaste tubes, in order to lower the need for human intervention and handle new caps, handle new machines. So thanks to, again, a research project with our group, we were able to come with an industrial solution. This is the result. So this is the machine handling a lot of caps per minute. And you have just a look on the system that is allowing the process. Only 10 caps are needed to do the training set. So each time you want to change the machine or you want to change the cap, only 10 samples. To achieve this, one of the key aspects of IDIAP is the development team. The idea 10 years ago was to create this research and development team in order to bridge the gap between academia and the industry. The idea is with 14 people, with a lot of skills in computer science, a lot of skills in artificial intelligence. Their goal is to convert the prototypes which have been done by the researchers and convert them into real software that can be run and that is close to production level. Still, we are not a company of service. We still are a research institute. We have several business opportunities and funding instruments, I would say, to fund research projects with industries. Two of them which are very interesting for companies and then for SMEs are the ARC. We can start, usually, if the company is located in Valais, we can start with a DARC project, which allows us to gain 6 to 12 months of funding to get a first proof of concept and then go bigger with a bigger project through, for instance, InnoSuisse. If you're not aware of InnoSuisse, it's very interesting for us as well. It's one of our main instruments for research projects with industries. It supports science-based innovation projects, but the projects must meet a market need and it needs to provide economic benefits or create social value. How InnoSuisse cover the research partner salaries and the company provides the other half. They can do it with material or with the workmanship, with the salaries. Two success stories of IDIAP, Chilemon, I already mentioned them, and Recap. Recap, they are doing voice recognition. So I will say Google is one of the best in the world, if not the best, to understand English. Recap is the best for Swiss German. Their solution is integrated into the remote control of the biggest company for television, Swisscom. And Chilemon, they are doing facial authentication, for instance, biometric solutions, and they were acquired in 2018 by AMS. AMS is an Austrian big company. They are a supplier of sensors for Apple. Sorry, Microsoft. So yeah, I'm the technology transfer officer. I'm the first contact for the companies for IDIAP. So don't hesitate to come to talk to me. And as is saying our director, Professor Hervé Bourlard, IDIAP, a one-stop shop for artificial intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. So now let's move on to our next speaker. And after his speech, we are going to have a double and share Q&A session. And our next guest is, yes, please. You can come, yes. Okay, so welcome on stage, Serge Balestra, case manager at Business Valais. You will share with us the successful story of a startup scale-up in Switzerland, right? So you have the stage. Welcome.
Thank you. I will talk to you about a company called iGenius. You probably know them. Is anybody who's knowing them here in the room? Raise their hands. Okay, thank you. It's a company that is founded in 2016, and basically they're looking for a solution to enrich and empower people's choices through AI. They had 4 offices, one in Milano, California, London, and now Switzerland Valley. You can see here very successful in the different milestones. One of them is being part of the Facebook Accelerate, and the other one is for the Google's for a case study. Now, basically the project, I mean, the scheme that we had at the start is that they needed to evaluate, to open an office, R&D office in the AI sector. Then we had the expected timing, more or less, that you can see there. And the idea was to be 1 year later with 5 persons, and probably in the future, in 2 years, by 15 persons. Then there's obviously a few criteria to select the investment location whenever you go. The idea was really to get the competence and workforce in AI in the different sectors. Machine learning, natural language processing, and voice and image recognition. Some of the important criteria, Mr. Zwicky already told about this, is also aspects about taxes, liberal labor law, and a friendly business environment. We were competing apparently at that time with the United States. So the idea is that iGenius came to visit us. We had 2 visits, basically February, April 2017. We had a first meeting with IDIAP. At that time, it was not Joel, but somebody else. Then we had also some meetings with the Foundation The Arc that was presented to you before, that basically is helping and assisting companies to increase their competitiveness at local level. And then we had more the practical side to meet an attorney, tax expert looking for possible premises. At the end of the day, fortunately, it has been a match. This match, they decided really to open an office at the Technopole in Sierre, which was one of the first ICT hub opened some 30 years ago. And in November 2017, they officially incorporated the company. The incorporation of a company in Switzerland is quite short. It goes 5 to 10 days. Why the match? I mean, basically, we had competence and workforce in AI. We had already about 20 companies in the AI field, strong presence in R&D and different AI ICT sector. We had a one-stop shop that is like Business Valley and other content. Basically, I have been the interlocutor during the whole time with iGenius. I'm not an AI specialist, but I'm somehow the matrix. I'm connecting the people together and having the right person with the right people. Everything went according to plan, and it really went well. You can see here still the few names that are from Key Lemon, iGenius, IDEAC, BioWatch for the different person that came. So since December 2017, they're renting an office in Sierre. You see that's my Ministry of Economy and Education together with Mr. Shaka. And today they're a team of 5. Internationally, culturally, India, Italy, Swiss, from Macedonia. And they're still growing and recruiting. For what I told you before, the help, what we are doing during the whole process, doesn't stop just the day when you just sit down. The idea, we still have calls today where we're helping for working permits, where we're making different process, and it's really according to the needs and tailor-made. If you have any questions, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks again. So if there are any questions, I ask Joel to come back and join us in order to have these Q&A sessions. No, no questions. I have a question for Joel. Now stay here, Serge. Don't escape. So please, Joel, come for I leave you the microphone. And my question is, what's the secret sauce? Maybe before you was telling us something, but the secret sauce to close the gap between scientists and researchers. You deal with them from one side, from the other side with businessmen and companies. close really the bridge between companies and academia.
Yeah. So as I said, it's a bit of my role as the TTO to close the gap in the first place, because I will say that the researchers and the industrial partners are not always speaking the same language. They don't have the same needs. In one side, the researcher has to do research, to do publication, and in the other side, the industrial partner usually wants to go quickly towards results. So it's my role to close this gap in the first place in terms of discussion. And then it's the role of the development team, as I presented it before, to close the gap between the prototypes, which are really research-oriented, so getting results, and the softwares that will be able to be run in a production environment, because it's not the same. And if you want it to work without problems, you need to put some effort on it. This is done thanks to the development team.
But what's the key element for you in your job, in this part of your job?
Communication.
Communication.
Yeah, okay. All the time. We need to do meetings every 1 or 2 weeks. If not, it will not work. Because the needs will change, the ideas will change, and at the end you will not get the results we are expecting.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? Okay, we have one. Wait, please.
I have a specific question for you. How you protect the know-how in development of algorithms? There are not
Sure.
sellable, but algorithms that are embedded in other algorithms.
Sure. So it's not always easy to patent software and algorithms, you know. But usually we have some successful projects which can go through patenting process with, for instance, the example with ISA Automation Industrial, with the machines. They used the work and turned it into a patent. And usually the IP protection is a process, also a negotiation. The main thing is that as the TTO, I have to be sure that our researcher will be able to continue to work in his field, because sometimes if you are giving an exclusive license, or if you are giving all the IP to the companies, it can be a problem. So it has to go through a negotiation, understand how it will work, and find a solution that is good to the research and the industry.
Okay. Any other? No? Okay, so please join hands to thank again our speakers. Thank you for your... And please, the microphone, Joel. Thank you. So our next and last speaker is the CEO and founder of Cyberdyne. It's an Italian startup in the artificial intelligence field in which we are proud to have already invested as Gellify. Please welcome to the stage Ernesto Minino. It's yours.
Thank you very much. Okay, I am CEO and co-founder of Cyberdyne, and Cyberdyne is actually a company involved in the application of some techniques of artificial intelligence to the solution of problems in industries, mainly decision-making problems in day-by-day processes in industries. So in order to understand better our technology as well as our business model, I would actually like to introduce you to our main techniques, to our technology, by means of a very simple, easy example, by means of a video. So in this video, you are looking at an virtual environment where some virtual creatures are actually moving. So the idea here is that all these creatures are actually trying to solve a specific problem. For example, these creatures are actually swimming in this virtual pool, and the main idea is actually not to program each single component or organism, let's say, in order to swim well. But actually the idea, or for example, in this case, the task is to run as fast as possible, of course. So the main idea here is actually to have the machine that programs the final results, the robots, by itself. So actually, you are defining here the goal, and then the machine is actually finding the best way to reach the goal. So in some way, it's the opposite of the standard paradigm you use with a computer, where you write a program in order to accomplish your task. Here, of course, you're actually trying to do the exact opposite. And this is something very interesting because, of course, you can see that after a while, some configurations are quite, let's say, not usual or not very efficient. And some others, after a while, actually starts to be very efficient, as well as quite similar to something organic. And this is actually something that arises automatically by means of a method, a mathematical method, which is actually quite well known to everybody here, since as most of the techniques in modern artificial intelligence, these methods are actually inspired to biology. Here actually we have a problem, for example, reach the red dot, and we want to find the best strategy, where strategy means how is composed the system, how it moves, how each part is moving with respect to all the others, in order to reach faster the goal, okay? So, as you can see here, after a while, some creatures actually develop some components such as spinning wheels and so on. In this case, actually, the creatures needs to reach as fast as possible the cube here. So the idea is that by means of chance and adaptation to how good a solution is, some ideas, some projects are most likely choose against other. Then the best choices are actually mixed one with the others, with some probability and so on. This iterative process is actually inspired to artificial selection, which is inspired to natural selection from Darwin, and it is one of the most famous artificial intelligence techniques, which is called evolutionary computation. Evolutionary computation is one of the possible algorithms you can use to solve general problems. Most of those techniques are actually inspired to biology, evolution, the behavior of ants or insects, or the way birds flies into the sky, and so on. Modern techniques of this kind are called actually memetic computing, and we are going there in a while. But actually, we can look at these techniques in order trying to make some sort of taxonomy of methods. So we want to actually categorize methods of artificial intelligence. So the first step, as we have seen with other presentation right now, can be actually called descriptive artificial intelligence. We have a lot of data, for example, pictures or audio files, and we want to extract from data information. So what is the content of our picture or video? What is the content of audio file, and so on. We have some methods for that kind of task. Second step, prediction. Okay, we know what is actually currently going on here in our data. We would like to understand what could be, for example, in a similar situation, or maybe tomorrow. A lot of methods of this kind are actually used every day, for example, to understand or to predict what we would like to watch on our streaming platform tomorrow, based on what we have watched until now. Then the third step is actually, okay, we know what is going on. We can predict or try to understand what is going on tomorrow. What is the best way to act in order to maximize the return from all this information? This is called prescriptive artificial intelligence. Of course, this is maybe let's say, trivial for a few of you in the audience, but actually it's needed to have a common page in order to introduce our technology. So Cyberdyne is actually working and is producing a software product, which is called KeyMeme. So the name actually contains the word meme, since it's based on memetic computing technology. And actually, it's a product we sell to companies in order to provide prescriptive artificial intelligence methods to solve day-by-day problem. It's a cloud-based platform, but of course it's also available on premises, that we sell to companies in order to solve decision problems. Of course, the platform is already integrated with legacy softwares, such as, for example, let's say, if we want to solve problems in the design, engineering design applications, then of course Kimeme can actually can be integrated, can talk to, let's say, CAD software, simulation software, in order to evaluate how good a design candidate is. For example, in this case, with this company in Italy, we used Kimeme to design automatically a component of a car. In this case, it's a wheel. And we wanted to find the most lightweight wheel and also the most resistant one to the mechanical stress. Kimeme, by means of mimetic approach, has been able to automatically design in 3 hours a wheel 15% more light than the best one designed by hand by a skilled trained engineer in the company. And speaking of actually scaling up, we started from design engineering processes, and actually we are currently using Kimeme as a decision support system based on mimetic computing in order to solve process decisions, such as, for example, manufacturing. What is the best combination of tasks on our production lines for both final goods as well as components? Actually, it's not a trivial problem. You already have some traditional approaches to solve this kind of sequencing or scheduling tasks, but actually those approaches are actually not capable of taking into account all the specific details of the production of each plant. By means of this approach, it's actually very easy to map all the details of the plant, and each plant has its own specific characteristics. By means of this flexibility and performance, actually we are currently providers for a very big company. It's called Magneti Marelli. They make components for automotive industries. They have 54 plants worldwide, and actually they are using Kimeme to define production planning and scheduling in their plants. So actually they choose our software against others because of this kind of performance. So actually we are currently applying, working along with, of course, Gellify as well as Accenture, this kind of technology in several possible field applications, from engineering and manufacturing to services, banking, as well as call center process organization. Just 2 words about that. We are the provider of scheduling services for the #1 outsourcer in call center services in Italy, #2 in Europe. Actually, we are defining the shifts allocation for 5,000 operators every day by means of Kimeme. It's a very complicated problem with a lot of constraints, rules, hundreds of rules. In this case, tens of thousands of variables. It's very difficult to actually satisfy all the needs for the process. And we've been able to obtain better results than those obtained by planners by hand. So actually, we've been able to reduce a lot the day-by-day cost for running the company, and call center actually have costs and very small margins. So the reduction of costs is actually something very important for their business. So this is our story. Myself and my business partner, we are former researchers at the university. Then we started the Cyberline in order to push to the market the results of our research during the days in the academia. And we are currently working very well with Gellify in this kind of application. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ernesto. Does anyone have any question for Ernesto? No? When are you going to scale up to Switzerland?
Very soon, actually. We are talking with a company which is producing power systems for electricity, and they are interested in a platform that can help them designing their transformers, are called. So actually, quite soon, before the end of this year.
Thank you. So if there are not further questions, we can proceed to the second part of this event, the networking aperitif. But first, let me thank you, all of you, for your kind participation, and Microsoft for this beautiful venue, and of course, Swiss Business Hub Italy, who organized this initiative with us. See you soon, and thanks for coming. Grande come al solito. Grande come al solito.